Hey everyone, my name is Seth. This is the Books Business Growth Podcast where we talk to Amazon sellers, e-commerce entrepreneurs and business owners about their journey, what makes them tick and why they have been successful. So without further ado, please sit back and enjoy the show. Hello everyone, welcome to the show. We are here today talking with Hayden Davidson. How are you doing, Hayden?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate. How are you?
I am very well. Off to Mexico in 2 days. It's the end of February. It's a bit cold. Can't complain, but I'm glad to be chatting to you. It's been a long time, over a year, I think, right?
Yeah, it's been a long time, mate. Yeah, I booked a flight yesterday. I'm going to just booked Slovenia because, I'm not.
Ooh.
Yeah, I mean, here we go, controversial already, but I'm not vaccinated, so I shot over there. Just didn't want to go all the way to Mexico, so I'm going there for just a little while, and then just a break really, and then I come back. It is a beautiful place by all accounts.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I've never been. We won't dive into the vaccination gate. We'll stick to strictly Amazon chat here because I don't want to get cancelled before the podcast even aired.
Yeah.
But yeah, so last time we spoke, I was probably on your YouTube channel or doing a Facebook Live or something, talking about books. So I thought now that I've got a bit more of a platform to chat to other Amazon sellers, I thought it'd be good to turn the tables on you. I know a lot's changed since we last spoke, so I was wondering if we might as well dive straight in and if you could just introduce kind of your journey into Amazon, what you did before, how you got started with it, and what you bring us up to present day Hayden, if that would be cool.
Yeah, sure, no worries. So, I mean, a lot of people don't know this, but I started on e-commerce about 3.5 years ago. And back then I was doing drop shipping. So I used to do drop shipping from Amazon to eBay. So I used to list thousands of items on eBay, and then they used to get ordered from Amazon. It was all a bit messy. I used a platform called Easy Sync, and it used to automatically order everything, thousands of items. Sort of VAs running that. Then that got a bit messy. So I moved into something a bit more stable, what I thought, which was online arbitrage. Built that up quite nicely. As I say, I had a couple of VAs there. Did that for a while, earned some good money there. Q4 was always good. But then I wanted something even more stable because I didn't feel like it was had the scalability and the stableness that I personally wanted. So now that leads me to now where after 6-7 months ago, I moved into my own sort of private label type stuff, and we do bundles and things like that. And that's where we are now, really, building the brand, building my own brand on Amazon. And then, pretty soon to be taking it off Amazon, but, one step at a time. It's kind of where I am, really. Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, there's plenty to touch on there. I'm immediately interested, but I didn't realise you did the eBay to Amazon drop shipping, was it?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. I never talk about it. Yeah. eBay to Amazon. So I don't know. It was ordered from Amazon and sent by eBay. So, sent by Amazon, but ordered from my eBay accounts,
Yeah. Because I've totally forgot that I did that for a bit as well, just because, when you get started on e-commerce, you're obviously looking at I'm sure most people are looking at any or every avenue to make money. And I remember I may have got pinged with ads, or I just stumbled across it somehow. And I remember thinking, just seeing that all you need to do is get a good rep on eBay and they'll start giving you more listings, right?
Yeah.
And essentially you can, if you get up to say 10, 20,000 listings, then you fill those up with dropship items, and obviously you don't have to hold any stock, and you're not going to make much money, right? You're just making kind of £1 or maybe £2 or $3 to $5 per sale max. But because of the sheer volume, you could potentially make money. And I remember, I think I got one sale after having 10,000 listings, and I thought, I can make a go at this. But luckily my other OA products kind of took off better, and I realised that actually this whole Amazon to eBay dropship, other way around, was probably not really that scalable, right?
Mate, if you want me to talk about it, I'd literally. It was
dive in. It would be cool because I'm sure a lot of people either don't know about it or maybe have tried it, but it's as far as I know, there's some people doing it, right? But it's obviously not loads of people doing well at it, and I'm sure the people who are doing well at it are the ones who've got hundreds of thousands of listens on eBay, and maybe they're really they're really like prestigious sellers who've been doing it for ages, right? It must be hard to get into that space.
I don't know if it's even possible anymore. I honestly don't know.
Right.
When I left the space, eBay shut my account down, and they shut all my accounts down. So I ended up having a few eBay accounts. Don't know if I should even say this, but I ended up having a few eBay accounts, and they shut them all down. They were on me like a hawk. They just they didn't want anyone doing it at all. Eventually, you had to have like stealth accounts and things like that, like really mad, like 15, 20 accounts. It would have worked beautifully, I assume. I never really got to this stage. I think I had literally, I was doing like 80,000 a month, a week or something, in sales. Like, it got to a stage, but then it was just like, there's one bit of software in between Amazon and eBay that is ordering every single item that comes in. So I might have sold 200 items in a day or whatever it was. But if the software messes up, then you've got 200 people that have just paid into your PayPal account and you're not sending their items. And you can imagine that after a day or two of that, and you've got to manually order every single one of them. And it was just, it could turn into a nightmare like in a couple of hours. So not only that, that's when the alarm bell starts ringing to eBay and PayPal, and they start restricting you, and you have £1,000 stuck everywhere. Cool. After that, you then get to the stage where, for me, Prime took away my eligibility to be a Prime member. So I didn't realise, but on thousands of orders, I was paying for delivery and obviously losing money on thousands of items, because instead of getting the free delivery, I was paying £3 or £4 per delivery. So without realising it, for 2 weeks. And I just bought a new Mercedes, thinking that I was earning this, right, literally. And then I sort of got to this hotel. I was staying at this full fancy hotel. I was like, I've made it, everything like that. And then I got there, sat down, and I went, oh my God, I've literally for the last 2 weeks been spending thousands rather than making thousands because I haven't had Prime. So it was a good lesson anyway. But little things like that. Like, it's not sustainable. In my eyes, it wasn't sustainable at all. It was very sort of dodgy, but some people made good money at it.
No, that's really cool. It's cool to hear that was your first experience of ecom, though, because firstly, it's just interesting to know other people's strategies, but it's also good to know that you started with quite a, not necessarily a failure. I guess it started well, but you thought you were making your money, and we've spoken about this on previous podcast episodes. A big thing is know your numbers, right? And I'm guessing you didn't know your numbers, or you found out your numbers too late.
Yeah. I wasn't tracking them well enough, obviously.
Yeah, but as you say, it's these sort of things are learning experience. I looked into this, and luckily I didn't get as far as you, but I realised that it just probably wasn't the best thing to do. I mean, it probably worked really well years ago, right? Maybe a year or two before you got into it. It's one of those classic things that's a bit of a fad. People clock onto it, and either the platforms will shut you down or competition will, right? So
I mean, I had a mate that he bought a Maserati, like he had like literally out of the change, as far as I'm aware, out of the money that he made from it, he had like 8 VAs working for him. He was absolutely smashing it, doing like 30k sales a day, making like 3,000 a day margin. It was crazy. He was smashing it, but that only lasted for so long, as far as I know. I mean, he's gone on to do other stuff, and that's the beautiful thing, isn't it? Once you've got that e-commerce experience, you can just leverage it into other business models, which is exactly what he did and I did and everything like that.
It makes you think, for all the people that are scared, like maybe listeners worried about getting started, don't worry about failing, because just getting started and learning anything in e-com's beneficial, right? As you said with your friend, and I'm sure you learned a ton from using the EasySync. I can't remember what software I used. It might have even been EasySync, but so how come? Sounds like you were hiring VAs quite soon into your journey. It took me 3 years to hire my first team member because I had various reasons. So did you do that near enough straight away? How did that come about? Like what? Because I didn't even know that was an option to hire outside of the UK until quite late into my Amazon journey. So what was the lead up to that?
I think when I was doing that drop shipping back then, I think the guy was really, really switched on and savvy that I was working with. So I wasn't in a partnership. But, you got that little accountability group, like no one's paying for it. It's just like 3 mates, basically. One of them was my mate, someone was someone else. And he was really switched on, and he basically did all the legwork to hire this VA, and we were all sharing them. So it wasn't like I was like, I'm doing this, and I knew I didn't even know they existed either. So I got told by him, and then we sort of just shared this VA. I only just remembered that a minute ago, and I forgot I even had them. And then, so we shared that VA. after that, I went into like some coaching program for OA stuff, and then the lady in that course taught me how to do virtual assistants and stuff. But yeah, I didn't, I've never had a proper operation of VAs, you know what I mean? Not yet, I've only ever had I've got one guy now that's been with me for like a year and 2 months. He's fantastic. Apart from that, yeah, it was just, I've been winging it with VAs for ages, like up until my consistent one I've had now, yeah. So I'm in the same boat there, yeah, with VAs. It's always been like...
That's cool though, but it goes to show that you leverage your network then, right? So it was a free kind of a mastermind group, but it was just, was it just a WhatsApp group where you kind of collabed on info on
Is this the OA one? Are you talking about the OA?
Sorry, the first thing you did with the drop shipping.
No, that was a good friend of mine. So my old business partner, I used to own a landscaping business and loads of businesses before my e-commerce stuff. And it was my old business partner in that. Me and him decided to get into e-commerce, and then he met some guy in the communities, like just a random online community. They've been friends for years. I've been distant friends, and then we all just sort of shared this VA, and we're in like an accountability group, just hold each other accountable. So there wasn't anything paid. That was literally just a few guys that are giving it a go. You know what I mean?
Okay, yeah. Well, it sounds like a pretty profitable outcome of that either way. So
can't remember.
So you did that, yeah.
I can't remember if I made money or less money on that one.
Yeah, well, I guess it doesn't matter too much because you at least knew that you needed to leave it. You didn't try and flog a dead horse or whatever. So you realise there's other ways to make money. This one's probably not the best one. How did you stumble across Amazon then? Obviously you already knew about Amazon from what you were doing, but how did you what was the leap between thinking, oh, I can drop ship from Amazon to eBay to Amazon, to, oh, I'd rather sell on Amazon?
So how it happened is, like, I don't know if you've heard of progressive success. I don't know if you know it. Yeah,
I have.
Progressive property and progressive success, which is like, it was called Unlimited Success back then when I did it. I went to one of them training courses. Like, I paid a fair chunk of money to go on them speaker training courses because I was really into public speaking and stuff. So I did like a whole week's intensive public speaking. At the time, I was really unhappy with the business because I realised it was unsustainable, the Amazon business, and I was a little bit lost. I was like, I want to be a speaker. I want to be like, I want business. I didn't really know what I wanted. Happens to be that the guy, that one of the speakers that was training me to speak, he also sold on Amazon. And in quite a big way. And I was thinking about getting into private label, so I was doing that. Brock Johnson, or whatever his name is. He's got a free like $1 course. It's like $1 a month or a week or something.
Okay.
At the time, I was going through that, but that's like really intensive, and I was like, private label is really intimidating if you haven't done any Amazon selling before. It feels almost impossible. It feels like, is it even possible? It feels lost. 10, 15 grand on a product. That's what people think it is, if they're unaware. I sort of said to this guy, at the speaker course, he was like, what are your plans? And I said, look, I want to get into e-commerce, really, speaking later on. I want to do e-commerce, but I said, I'm worried about private label. He said, why don't you do online arbitrage? You can actually buy products without having to get private label. And I was like, my eyes lit up, and I was like, oh, sweet. It's not as easy or as profitable as maybe some people, say it is, in my opinion, but nevertheless, it was still an easier way of getting started than private label. So funnily enough, obviously he had a course, so he sold me a course, and then I went and bought his like £3,000 course, which whatever, it is what it is. It gave me a good start. You don't necessarily need to spend that money to get started at all, I don't think, but it gave me a good start anyway. At least I was in the right place, and then I started, and that's how I discovered online arbitrage. I just got told how to do it. I didn't even look at anyone on YouTube before I started. But that is what I'd recommend now, just like, divulging all the videos on YouTube. But I didn't even know about that. I just found out by a friend, and I thought it was like his little thing. I didn't realise like loads of people knew about it. I thought it was his little thing that he discovered, and like I couldn't get that information anywhere else. It was really strange. Yeah, so
that's funny.
So I discovered it.
He sucked you into his sales funnel pretty quickly there by the sounds of it. But I'm not surprised, because when I first found out about it, it was via YouTube. I thought I'd stumbled across some random, lucrative, profitable corner of the internet that no one else knows about. And bear in mind, there's still, I don't know about you, but you speak to a random person in a bar or whatever, and then you tell them what you do, they're still baffled by it when I tell them.
Yeah.
So it is still kind of it's an obscure corner of the internet. So the fact that you found it is odd anyway. But it's funny that you got told by someone who happened to, funnily enough, sell a £3,000 course. But I guess it got you started, right? So you can't really complain now, and it's probably got you to where you are.
Yeah,
and I'm sure it taught you a thing through.
Yeah, the ROI on that was great. You know, like it introduced me. I might not have been where I am now if I hadn't have got introduced by if I didn't have that commitment. You know what I mean? Like when that money's burning a hole in your wallet, sometimes it's like, oh yeah, I've got to do this. You know, so I just fully committed to it. So yeah, I'm not saying it wasn't a bad thing at all. I'm glad I did it. You know.
No, totally. I think I've signed up to so many courses that I haven't actually done much of the course. I've probably done about 20% of it, but I have actioned bits of it, and it's ended up being really profitable long term. It's like you say, you commit to it, so it's almost like you don't need to do the course.
Yeah,
it's almost like you just need to write a check out and throw it, like, I don't know, into the Thames, and then
that motivation. Yeah, I tell you what, I've listened to Grant Cardone quite a lot just for motivation, and like, there's one thing that he said that stuck with me forever, and he said, like, whether you a book or a course or whatever you're doing, as long as you get at least one thing, as long as you get one good takeaway that will stick with you forever, then that was worth it. And that's what I try and do whenever I'm reading a book or doing a course. I just think if there's just one key thing that I won't ever forget from this course or from this book, then it was worth my time doing it, and that's, you know, worth my money investment, and that's, you know, that's the way I think about it now, really.
I totally agree with that. I think that's really good advice, because I think I can't remember who said this, but I remember that was a quote that you should buy every book you see that you kind of want to read, just because there's always going to be something in it that's going to be worth the money. Even you kind of think, oh, I don't want to spend £20 on this book right now because I might not read it for ages, but you will read, and all it takes is that one page, one paragraph, one quote, and you'll get more than £20 back. But maybe let's do two side tangents before I forget. Would be, do you have any books that you'd recommend that have been really useful for either your Amazon journey or just general personal development?
Oh, goodness me. Loads. But on the top of my head, I mean, I am actually a massive Grant Cardone fan, and I didn't even realise I was. If you don't know him, he's like this over the top. Like, I'm sure you know who he is, but I'm talking to the, you know, listeners. He's like the over the top American dude that's like in your face, and he's got like a jet and everything. Like, to me, he's just so motivating. Like, I don't agree with everything he does, like all the stuff he sells, but the way he motivates me is crazy. Like, so I read a book called The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone a couple of years ago, and that genuinely changed my whole outlook. I know people say this all the time, but that genuinely, I listened to that and it just woke me up. I thought to myself, I've always thought bigger. Like, I've always thought that I could achieve more than like everyone. Everyone just seems to be doing like most people just seem to be sort of surviving rather than thriving. And like, when I listened to that book, I was like, there is someone else like this. I was like, I am different, you know, like I can do this. And there is a few people that do want more. So it sort of opened my mind up to that. So the 10X Rule, definitely, for sure. Another one by him is called Be Obsessed or Be Average. By the way, some of you will hate this guy, but I find him really annoying sometimes. But once again, it's just, there's no one like him for motivation. I also listened to Happy Sexy Millionaire by Stephen Bartlett. I don't know if you've heard of it.
No, but I've only recently started listening to his podcast, Diary of a CEO, and actually I was listening to one just before this call. So
yeah.
I think, I don't know much about him actually, but it's a good podcast.
Yeah, he's a dragon on Dragon's Den. Yeah, I went to his live show on Monday in the London Palladium. 2,500 people there. That was really good, really inspiring. But yeah, I'd say them 3 books. Like, I do like Gary Vee, but I find him quite confusing sometimes. So I listen to his book. What is it? Jab, jab, jab. Right? No, not that one. What's it called?
That is a classic though. Jab, jab, jab. Left hook. Right.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's that one or the other one, the yellow. I can't remember. I think it was that. It might have been that. Jab, jab, jab. Right hook. Yeah, one of the books from Gary Vee. Anyway, I mean, they're all probably pretty good. But yeah, they think very differently, Grant and Gary Vee, so you've got to be careful. Like, sometimes when you listen to too much of different people, then you can get really contradicted, you know, by all these different opinions. Yeah,
you need to kind of you can go down the rabbit hole of their content. You need to take the good stuff and maybe get in and out quickly, right? So I would agree with you. Grant Cardone, I did read the 10X Rule years ago, and I thought it was really good. And then I started to delve into him a little bit more. And then I don't know if you've seen him on a podcast with the Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah,
but he comes across really badly in that podcast, and it makes him look a bit of a fool, right?
100%.
And then that made me think, and fine, Grant Condo's written a couple of good books, but it made me think that maybe he's a bit of a fraud. But then, if, like you said just before, if you do read a page of a book and it impacts you, who cares if the author's a fraud? Like, I'm probably not too bothered, I guess. So I'm just not going to follow him on Instagram, probably. But yeah, I don't know what to make of Grant Cardone.
Yeah, I know what you mean. As I said, for motivation, I think he's great. But I'm not like, all of the like ethics and everything he sells, definitely not. I don't dive into that sort of stuff. It's just like how it benefits me is a good thing. So, but what's funny is that obviously was the Wolf of Wall Street, who's like one of the biggest frauds in history. So like,
Jordan Belfort. Yeah, no, I know that is funny, but I guess he's reformed now. He's done his time in prison, so technically we should be treating him as not a fraudster anymore, right? Because he's turned over a new leaf, or you'd like to think that.
I don't know. Someone that's got that mindset, I personally understand like second chances and everything like that, but someone that's got that mindset for so many years to defraud hundreds of millions of pounds worth from these innocent people, I'm like, does that just go away overnight? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, he's been in prison though, right? He's done his time, so technically, if you believe in the rule of law, then you should be okay with him being out.
Year, wasn't he?
I don't actually know. I know it wasn't for very long.
Yeah, so
it's a year longer than I'd like to spend in prison. I don't know about you.
Sure.
But another person you mentioned there, Gary Vee, is he's always topical, but I feel like a topical issue at the moment is productivity and toxic productivity, and some influencers saying you need to work all day and not sleep, right? And Gary Vee seems to be one of those where it's like you need to just work until you find success. How much of that mentality do you agree with in terms of your journey and just in general?
Yeah, it's a really tricky one, isn't it? Because like as Stephen Bartlett says in some of his podcasts, I listen to every single one. He doesn't know anyone that has achieved big success without working really hard, and I don't either. Do you know what I mean? But I'm also listening to a book at the moment. Oh, actually, my favourite book of all time, I forgot to mention, it is by Rob Moore. It's Life Leverage. And he says in that, and there's certain laws that dictate that once you've worked hard for a certain period of time on a business or on your entrepreneurial task, whatever it is, and eventually the momentum will go, and it will just become sort of seamless. And that's exactly what happened to me. Like I was slogging it away for like years in e-commerce, but then like now, like even though I only started my brand like 6-7 months ago, because I've leveraged all the experience forwards of my previous experience, because I've launched a fair few products now, to maintain what I've got now without growing it, just to maintain it, I could probably work like just check my emails, because I've got a business manager that does everything else. So I could literally just work half an hour a day, like to maintain what I've got. But because I want to grow the business, I probably focused hours. I'd say a minimum I put in like 3 to 5 hours a day of like really focused hours. And then I'm probably just kidding myself on the rest. Probably just messing around if I'm honest. So in terms of like what I believe about it, I don't know. I think you do have to probably work hard for a certain period of time in a startup. But then after the wheels start moving, probably just a few hours a day is enough. Otherwise it can become too intense and you're pretending you're working when you're not really working that hard. So you're better off just fully focusing 3 or 4 hours and then sort of enjoying life. And I'm not saying that I do this every day, because sometimes I just push myself when I shouldn't. Sometimes I push myself really late, but I should only work, 3 or 4 hours a day really for fully focused work.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think from looking at other very successful people on in books, in podcasts, and on YouTube and stuff like that, it seems like a lot of them will have a very, very focused 3 or 4 hours, and then they don't necessarily, and then they do a lot of busy work outside of that, right? They do the emails, they do their social media stuff, but their core deep work is maybe really early in the morning when no one else is up. So I totally agree with that, but I'm the same as you. I find myself often, I'll probably be checking my emails late at night, and I'll think, oh, there's something to do. I can whip off this email and stuff like that. But I guess that's not the deep work. But I also agree with you that you've put in so many hours over the last few years that now you're reaping those benefits, right? You're reaping the rewards of of what you've done to get to here. You've done the drop shipping, you've failed at a few things, and now you've found the successes. It's like people say sometimes something just switches, right? Like something just clicks and you realize how it works. That's definitely what happened with me with books. Something at some point clicked, and then there was a very and that it went from being something that I thought I could make work, but I'm not making that much money, to this is really going some now. I can quit my job and I can scale this.
And just to ask you a question, so if you don't mind, so when you first started seeing that serious momentum from the books, when you transitioned from, I think you were doing OA or something before, weren't you? So when you started to, did you always think like you were kidding yourself? Did you almost think like it was just going to like all fall apart in a few months and it was only temporary? Did it take a while for it to sink in that it was actually sustainable? Because it did for me, like, and it still is.
That's a good question. I think that I always have in the back of my mind as almost not a productivity hack, like a mindset hack, that this could all go up in smoke at any time. And I've spoken to you about this when we talked on your show, that because my account got banned in the UK, that's why I've got that mindset. Amazon can shut me down at any time, and I'm okay with that. I'm content with that. And I think if other people are more content, that's definitely something that I would recommend other people think like that, because we're under the thumb of Amazon, right? We're at their whim. And exactly. We're in their sandpit and we have to play by their rules. So, and I'm happy to play by the rules until they become very difficult. But that's why, I'm happy to think that tomorrow I might not be selling any books and I'll just focus on something else. And I guess that's why I'm here doing a podcast, speaking to people such as yourself, because there's loads of other options of making money in e-com, and I might learn something from you, which will lead me to creating a Shopify store, doing my own thing off Amazon, and that's just the way it is. But I think it's healthy to have that mindset that it can just go up in smoke, 100%.
Right? And I think Amazon, like, if you notice, the people that give Amazon a bad stick are the ones that are doing these, not dodgy, they're not dodgy, but they're not really stable businesses on Amazon. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, they haven't really found their thing. They haven't really found what's really, really working for them. So they've got that disbelief in Amazon because they're not getting the results they want to get, if that makes sense. Like, so like, for example, building a brand, or like selling private label, or like, selling your rare books that you do, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, that Amazon prefer you to do that than doing thousands of OA products, I think. You know what I mean? Like things to IP violations and things like that, all the issues that you can get, and the negative effects that can have on your account, and all the limitations they're putting on with like documents that you need, all the proof of like all that stuff. It's quite clear that they want people to have brands, and like they want people to have private label, and they want people to have stuff that is like, do you know what I mean? Like they want people to be running proper businesses on there. And I'm not saying OA isn't a proper business or RA or anything like that, but they just want their sellers to be legit, So as close as you can get to that, I think the better Amazon treat you. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I totally agree. They're not necessarily kicking out RA and OA sellers, but they, as you say, they want to boot out the hobbyist sellers who are just doing this as a little side hustle, but aren't taking it very seriously, who aren't keeping their documentation. They want serious business owners running platform and selling on the platform, because otherwise they're going to get complaints, and they know, because there's competition now, isn't there? There's Walmart fulfillment, and you never know whether eBay might introduce something like that. So Amazon are very wary that they want to stay at the top of the pile, and to be able to do that, they need their sellers to be legit, because most of their sales come from third-party sellers, right?
Yeah, it's like 51% or something, isn't it? 53%.
And the whole motto of Amazon is customer first, isn't it? So they want to make sure the customer's getting the best product possible. And the way to do that is by policing us better.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, no, I mean, that was for UK, by the way. I know OA in America is completely different. So, yeah.
Yeah, I actually don't know very much about OA in America, but I think it is a little bit more lax.
For
whatever reason.
I think it's much more of an opportunity. I'm not saying it isn't here. Once again, everyone thinks, if you say one bad thing about what you used to do, like OA, everyone thinks I'm slagging it off. I'm not. I'm just saying I do think the opportunity is very different in America from what I've heard.
Fair enough. But so speaking of OA, then you obviously went from drop shipping to OA, and you did that for a bit, and you were doing all right, weren't you? You had your own unit, but what was the process there? Can you talk us through your OA RA journey and why you ended up leaving that?
Yeah, I never really did RA. I suppose I did a few items on RA, but it was more sort of like really wasn't for me. I wanted something that was a bit more something that I could do sort of anywhere really, or like not have to just drive around the country picking up stuff. Although that can be very profitable, but I didn't find it profitable. What was the question, mate? Sorry.
I was just saying if you could just run through, because from what I saw on social media, you were doing pretty well on the OA side. You had your own unit. Yeah. You looked like you were going places, but then you ended up not pursuing that, right? So I guess you've touched a little bit on the fact that regulations and have tightened up a bit, and that might have been one of the reasons why you ended up shifting away from it. But could you talk us through a little bit on your OA journey, how it went, and why you ended up changing tactics and strategy a bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, it was just like, it was a great introduction. I liked it a lot. But I think I got in a little bit late, and I feel like it felt like it was getting saturated. Like every week was getting worse in terms of saturation. This is just my, maybe it was the products that I was sourcing, the stores that I was using, whatever. For me, it just felt like it was getting worse. So I managed to find a few niche stores where most people weren't ordering from, but they sort of, and that was good, and it worked for a certain period of time. But then sellers were creeping on, like more competition was creeping. Then by the time I left, there was used to be just like 3 of us on a listing, then there was like 40. And this was like our unknown store that we kept crying. No, everyone knew about it. The issue was that sometimes the software can there's a new software that comes out, for example, like I'll just say the name, it won't affect it. Arbitrage Hero came out, and I'm not slating the guy that runs it. Obviously, great, it's helped a lot of sellers, helped me at some stages. But unfortunately, when things like that come out, sellers think that's a good thing, but that's actually a really bad thing, because all of the stores that we thought were private, that a lot of people didn't know about, all of a sudden they got chucked on his software, and then hundreds of people that are subscribed to that software then have access to our stores and all the deals. And if there's loads of stock, then you end up with 40, 50 sellers. So that was actually a big part of the business failing for me. Like the OA, not failing, but not being worth the while, in my opinion. Like when softwares like that come out, they can be a bit of an issue. So that was a genuine issue. When that software came out, we had a huge downfall in our sales. So once again, not slagging that off specifically, but that was a big issue. That did affect our business big time, and it affected a lot of other sellers' businesses as well, probably without them knowing. So that affected it. And then we sort of carried on, and I sort of went back to basics and started sourcing from regular stores, really small margins. And as I say, by the way, making it sound really bad, there was months where I earned, a fair few thousand per month, and then usually I earned, a full-time income from this. So it wasn't like, I was in the trenches, but it did seem like if I carried on, then it was going to get quite bad. And then at the stage, a couple of months before I left, I think there was all the documentation requests were coming in. I'm not sure what they're called. I can't remember the documentation requests, where you needed eligibility to sell toys and games, and then personal health and personal care in some areas, supplements. I think they were it was all coming in. So I had a lot of toys that I had to sort of get rid of or sell. And then there was the limitation. Then there was the restock limits that came in and all that sort of stuff. And I just thought, what is going on here? I'm all for being inspired and getting through every battle, but if you've got a certain amount of things chucked at you, and this is the difference when it's out of your control, if you've got your own brand and it's on your own website, for example, or you're on Amazon, for example, then it's up to you to sort of pivot that business and make it better and get past obstacles. But when you're getting things chucked to you from Amazon and you have no control over that platform whatsoever, if they want to make changes, that's when it becomes a case of not a positive mindset, but maybe you're in the wrong business. and that was just my realization I had. I realised that I could have stuck with it. I probably could have made it work, for an okay income and whatever. But it was never going to get me to the stage where, I suppose where I am now, with the potential that I am now with my own brand. So I think it pushed me in the right direction. It was a great thing. I'm glad I did it. It pushed me in the right direction. I just noticed the warning flag from Amazon trying to get what it felt like they were trying to push OA sellers away, and that's why I left. So just overnight, I just left, just like that.
really interesting. And I've actually got a book right next to me, which is called The Dip by Seth Godin, which is the main premise seems to be, well, it says on the front cover, the extraordinary benefits of knowing when to quit and when to stick. So it seems like that's the situation you were in. And like you say, you could have maybe grafted your way and worked really hard to something better, but you decided to change tack. But it really interests me that you did that despite you were on a full-time income. So most people would think, oh, I'm on a full-time income, I'm going to make this work because this is solid and sustainable. It's slightly more secure than maybe other things I've tried. But what made you think that the grass was greener? I know you've mentioned there was lots like the restock limits and you had to get rid of some toys. But like, what made you think that what you're doing now was definitely going to work, or was it just a bit of a punt? Were you? No?
I believed a lot in the person that I was listening to that ended up coaching me. Like, I really, really believed in them. Like, she's phenomenal, and she's done a lot, and she's doing it, and like, I believed in her a lot. There was that, but there was also the thing with me, is in like I was really unhappy with the OA stuff, like really unhappy, and it was actually making me a bit like not clinically depressed, but it was making me depressed. I was struggling to get out of bed. I was like, oh, another day of this, another day of issues, and then IP violations, like building up some stores saying we're not selling to you anymore. All of this stuff, you felt like you're getting attacked from every corner. So for me, the biggest risk was to stay in that business. Like the biggest risk, like it wasn't to lose that average income that I could earn from anywhere else. Not bragging, but I could leverage past business experience and earn a lot more from that from other businesses. I didn't get into it to earn an average income. I didn't get into it to not be able to have the freedom to be working on my computer and be able to travel the world and stuff. That's always been like one of my big goals, So I thought to myself, the biggest risk I could do is actually stay in this and just hover over this sort of average thing that I don't really like. So I had to get away. It was more, as I say, it was more of a risk for me to stay in that. Yeah. So as I say, I'll get rid of it. I had to believe that the new opportunity was the right thing. And there was no part of me that I worked the figures out, and I thought, even if I only sell hardly any, of the new thing that I'm going to do, even if it only works 20% of what I think it's going to work, it will still be making me the same money as OA. And then so when you work out the risk reward ratio, I just thought, I'm just doing this and I'm going to believe it works and just go all in. But as I say, the only reason that worked so well for me so fast was because of the experience I had from doing OA for so long, and then from doing so. As I say, I've got to give myself credit for the leveraged experience that I brought forward to that. If a randomer that had never sold on Amazon before started this brand 7 months ago, they probably wouldn't even be in profit right now, and then we're soaring forwards. You know what I mean? Just to, it's all about the experience that you can bring forward, isn't it? I think. So yeah.
Yeah. So you've leveraged your skill set from what you've learned over the last few years, and I really like the way you're framing that. The fact that the biggest risk was actually staying in OA. That was a much bigger cost because the opportunity elsewhere was much bigger. So you've only been doing this for 7 months, your brand kind of private label thing. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Obviously, you don't need to go into details on the product, obviously, but yeah, if you could just delve into how you approached starting it. So that I obviously know nothing about private label, right? So selfishly, I'm always looking to hear about how people get into it, so that I can maybe one day I will get into it. You never know. Moving away from books is always a possibility. So yeah, if you could just talk to me as a newbie as I am about like how you got started and bring us up to now, basically.
Yeah, sure. So as I say, I saw that my coach liked doing it, and she was like, I think if you fully trust someone and you see they're doing well in something, it's much easier, isn't it, rather than some random person on the internet. So I fully trusted her, and I saw what she was doing. It's kind of private label, but it's kind of not. So we are building our own brand, but we do use other people's brands, and we do bundles and stuff like that. But ultimately, it is under our own brand. So, as I say, I just sort of went all in overnight. Like, it was literally like I pivoted from OA to this overnight, invested all the money, set up a few things, and I'm very, very creative. So I'm a very creative person. So I think that's another thing that I've overlooked. And it's really easy to overlook your own skills that you hold, that some people don't hold. Like, I've seen competitors come into my space and they've got my space, the space I'm in. It sounded like I was saying I created it. I didn't. Like, well, I've seen competitors come into this space, this little niche space that we're in, creating brands and stuff. And honestly, it has been utterly embarrassing, some of the stuff they've got. And I don't say that to be mean, but when I look at it, I just think, like, what were you thinking when you created that? Like, that is like, who would buy that? But people were buying it. So, like, people buy it, and it may only sell one every 2 days, every 3 days, but it's still a consistent replen that is still selling. And come Q4, they'll be selling hundreds of them, just because there's so much demand on Amazon. So, but what I mean is, if you're creative and you've got experience of e-commerce, then you've already got a massive head start compared to the competition. So we sort of got into that overnight. As I say, I said the sort of thing that it is. Got into that sort of overnight. Started creating products, and now I'm at the stage where I listen to Grant all the time about 10x, and I try and create a new product every single week, and that is a big, and that's our own private label type stuff under our own brand, and most people take 6-7 weeks to create that. I try and create one. I'm pretty tired. I try and create one every single week. Like, whether that's coming up with a new idea, it might not be finished in a week. Very unlikely it's going to be finished in a week. But I'll start the sort of compound effect. Do you know what I mean? I'll start it in action. So I'll start the creation of that, and then maybe 3 weeks later it'll be done. But because I'm starting one every week, I'm slowly getting the gradual sort of another product launch, another product launch, another product launch, so that I have like 3 product launches a month minimum. And that's where I am. I'm just scaling it up as fast as I can. I've got a lot of cash in the bank that I need to burn through to invest, because it's just doing no good sitting in the bank. It's just, when it's sitting in the bank, it kills me. Like, people are like, "Oh, save money," and I'm like, "No, I don't want to save money. I want to invest the money." Like, it's just sitting in there not doing anything. So, like, that just gives me it just fires me up to, like, create as many products as possible. And I probably should be hiring like a small team just to create these products, but that takes time as well. So I'm at the stage where it's sort of like, yeah, what we were talking about earlier, between, like, how hard have you got to work? Like, right now I am working hard, but if I get really, really tired, then I'll stop. I'm just going all in, just creating products at the moment, and just going through that growth stage. Once I've got that consistent big sales, which hopefully won't be too long, that's when I'll start really getting more of the team at the moment. Like, I've got my business manager who helps a lot, but I'll start to really grow a bigger team once we're at that sort of slightly bigger level, that really sort of stable, consistent level. So yeah, that's sort of where I am with that journey.
Sounds awesome. So it sounds like you've got a pretty good system set in place. You've got kind of a weekly schedule, as it were. You're not necessarily finishing everything in the week. So is that a question of creating the listing, getting images done, writing up the descriptions, looking for products that are going to bundle well together, looking at seasonality? What else are you doing in your week? How are you managing your time? Things like that.
Yeah, good point. So I still do all the purchasing for the business as well. So there's a lot of that. So that takes a lot of time, and I'm outsourcing that at the moment. I'm training my business manager up to do all that, but it's going to take 3 or 4 months probably, because it's like a real long, to trust someone with all that is quite a big process. So I'm training him up on that. So that takes a big part of my day at the moment. The purchasing stuff does take, I probably spend a day and a half a week purchasing, like, which is just mental, I know, but it's a really bad use of my time. All the other time I spend just creating, so literally just creating products, as I said. So, but that involves sort of like, I use a lot of Canva, so it's like, if you don't know Canva, it's like Photoshop type thing. Those that don't know, so I do a lot of stuff on Canva, like just creating all these designs, creating all the prints that go into some of the, some of the products that we sell, the box designs for all the shipping boxes, like all that sort of stuff, all the products, like imagery for the products, which takes some time, all the graphics, so that to increase sales, like live images, like with the products, and then soon we're going to have to be getting like really professional pictures taken of our products and get them sent off to a professional to get them done, just to sort of level up the game a bit. So all of this stuff, and then one of the, and I do this, I just launch just product creation, like if I had a title, it would just be like product creation. Do you know what I mean? Like what's it called? Creative director, I suppose, would be like the title that I'd love to have eventually when the company's much bigger. And just get a managing director in, and I'll just be creative director. Just love the creative side. As I say, you have got to love it, I think, to do this. You've got to love, you've got to be a creative and love creative, or you've got to be able to outsource that side to someone that does love it. Otherwise, you might get eaten up by the competition, like for someone that is creative. So that's what I sort of spend my time doing at the moment. But then mainly what I spend about a day a week doing is literally just taking a step back and just like looking at the bigger vision of the business, like what the CEO should be doing. Like I just look at like the direction of where we're going. Like, are we in a niche? If not, do we need to get more into the niche that we picked? Are we losing sight of the goals? Like I really try and like do that a lot more now, like once a week, just like the actual big vision of the business, and also like, is it going the way that I want it to go? If not, I've got to sort of change direction. Like, am I launching the right products? Am I spending enough time doing like this other bit here? Like, am I spending too much time purchasing? Which obviously I found out I was from taking a step back, and that's why I'm outsourcing that. So yeah, it's a mix of creating products, taking a step back, and bigger planning of the business, and then just purchasing, which I'm getting rid of. Yeah.
Cool. So, well, talking of taking that day or whatever time it is to take a step back, what are your goals for this year and beyond? Obviously, you want to potentially sell that business at some point, but what's the short, medium term goals that you're looking at?
In terms of like revenue numbers and stuff like that. So this year we're looking at. So there's my goals, and then there's my goals that I want to do, and then there's my coach's goals that she thinks I'm possible of doing, which I might not hit. So the big goal, which we might not hit, and I don't think we're going to hit it, but hopefully we will. But I think it's unlikely.
You'll hit it. So be positive.
Yeah. So it is just shy of $1 million in turnover. So I want to do 800,000 turnover. But obviously it's not about the turnover. It's about how much profit you're making. Some people that are doing wholesale might be like, oh, that's nothing, but they're making 5% margin. You know what I mean? So it's very different. Like when you're making bigger margins. So the big goal is 800,000. I think realistically I'll hit. As I say, that is the goal, and I don't like to think smaller, but I don't want to lie to anyone on here either. I'm realistically hoping that we hit 500,000 to 600,000 between there this year, which I'm really, really happy with. In terms of sort of gross profit, looking for like once again the big goal is 250,000 gross. But once again, my realistic goal, which I honestly think I think I will earn 150,000 gross this year. I think we do 150,000 gross, and that's. Yeah, which I'm really, really happy with. That's the goal. But a lot of that,
should be
60-70% of that being Q4. Like, it's crazy. So I'm going to be getting ready for Q4 in like 3 months. Like, seriously, just like really, really getting ready for that. And I won't be launching any products like 4 months before Q4. I'll just be getting ready for Q4, and just sending like. I'm probably going to be sending 15 to 20,000 products in Q4, like just before the Q4 period, and then I will still be topping up over the Q4 period. And the average sale price is like £25 to £30. So these aren't just like £5 items we're selling. These are quite big, sort of, not big, but they're boxes. Like postal boxes stuff. So yeah, big goals. As I say, some goals. Yeah, I'm aiming for the big ones, but also being a bit more realistic in terms of like what I can actually see is possible. But then again, Amazon have offered me money. Like I've got other investors that have offered me money. With a load of contacts that I've got in the space. I've got a good amount of money in the business. I've got a credit card, 2 credit cards. So it's more than possible. It's just like at the same time, I don't want to stretch the business more than it has to in a short period of time. I'm not going to grow just for the sake of growing and jeopardize and risk it getting out of control. Do you know what I mean? I want to be able to keep up. So if I have to delay that growth till next year, but I'm in business for 10 years rather than 1 year, because we've messed up, because we tried to grow too quick, and I'm quite happy with that. You know what I mean? I'm in it for like the long term, not just to grab a bit of quick money, So
no, it makes sense. But seeing as you've brought it up, we might as well talk about debt. So you've said you've got cash in the business bank account. So when, assuming you like run out of that, will you be looking at investors, or would you take the Amazon loan, or would you sit back and wait a bit? Like you're saying, you don't want to have too many growing pains, because I've never taken an Amazon loan, or the only loan I've taken is borrowed a bit of money off my parents or siblings, and then that was really early on, and since then I've just been funneling my own profits into the business. So yeah, how do you look at that, and like, what will you assess when you think about that?
See, I think debt's a really good thing when it's leveraged in the business. So I really like taking taking out loans in the business. Like I love it. I mean, I've only taken one sort of 15 grand loan, which we've still got
Quite a lot though.
Yeah, I mean that really helped me level up. Without that, I wouldn't have got anywhere near back in '08 what I was doing. I think we still got about 11 or 12,000 to pay on that. We pay like £300 a month, just pay it off. And some people are like, oh, why don't you just pay that off now in full? And I'm like, that would be the stupidest thing you could possibly do. Why would I pay off a limited company loan that I can just pay off £300 a month, even if the company went bust? You don't. I'd rather that just went with it. Do you know what I mean? So anyway, I have got sort of a small loan there. Which is fine, it just sort of sits there. I mean, I'll be taking when I want to grow. As I say, we've got plenty of money in the business account at the moment to sort of foot the growth. Like I'm quite happy with that. But come Q4, I don't think we will. Like to get to this, especially not the goals that my coach has set me. I won't have enough for that unless I take some loans. So I think I'll take an Amazon loan for sure. I mean, I think there's like not a massive one on our dashboard at the moment. It's like 20 grand they've offered us, which is nice. A little. The interest is really low, so I'll probably take one of them. If we need any more money, I'll probably look to sort of ask someone that knows me in the space really closely. There's so many people in the communities. A lot of them are millionaires or almost, or they've got hundreds of thousands sitting in the bank. Like there's a lot of very wealthy people in these communities that we're in. So I'll probably speak to one of them and just say, do you want to, chuck sort of 20, 30 grand in and we just sort of like have a little agreement to pay back. So yeah, it doesn't really worry me about getting the funding. Like I think once you can prove your business to someone, once you're credible in the business and you've been going for a while, I think, that's why it's good to build contacts, isn't it? Then I think there's money sitting there. So that's what I'll do. Yeah, Amazon loan to start with, and then use the money we've got in the bank, and then go from there. Really
sounds good. And as you mentioned about having contacts in the Amazon space, you are obviously very well connected, I'd say, in the Amazon space. So you've got a YouTube channel as well. Do you want to talk about your social media presence a bit? Why you got started with it? What are your plans for YouTube?
Yeah. So I've been doing YouTube for like almost 2 years now. But I haven't got. We just went over like 75,000 views on YouTube, which I'm quite happy with. But it's sort of that's nothing compared to some people. Some people do that in one video, or loads more. But I never did it just to get a massive channel. I did it just to share sort of my journey. A lot of the videos were just literally day in the life or like vlog, and obviously they're not going to get much traction unless you're already following the channel. But I've just started hitting it harder at the moment, as in like I'm doing like a regular video every Monday now. But as I say, I do want to get that big now. Like I do sort of want to get a bit known, and I don't know why. I've just sort of all of a sudden I want to get known in sort of like the business space in general in the UK, and like eventually. And this is sort of the niche that we're in at the moment, because I do like talking about it. Amazon, and then like the travels that I'm going to be doing and stuff, and business. The main reason I started it though, and like you'll notice on my YouTube, like I've got nothing to sell. Like I don't sell anything, and there's nothing against people that do, but like a lot of my videos, they've got literally no links under them at all, and people are like, why'd you do it? Like for me, I started it to be a little bit different, as in like people are so shocked that I haven't got a course to upsell or anything like that. And once again, nothing wrong with people that do that. I just like, sometimes it can be a bit boring if someone's like, doing a video and then you can see right at the end, they're like, oh, and sign up to my course here. It just sort of ruins it can ruin it for, sometimes, So anyway, yeah, so I just wanted to be the sort of person that didn't do that and didn't try and sell people courses and stuff like that. And there's a few big people in the business world that do that now. So I'm definitely not the first. But yeah, for the long-term interest, but because the channel is monetized, you can still, if you're good enough, then the channel will get really big anyway, and you will get paid by YouTube to be monetized, like with the ads that go up. So like, I think that anyone that's good enough, you don't have to, I've probably stolen it from Gary Vee a bit here, because I remember him saying this, but if you're good enough, then you don't have to sell loads of courses or like, products under your videos, because eventually you will get big, and then you can just, YouTube will just pay you for that monetization anyway, just from their adverts, if that makes sense. So yeah, That's it really. As I say, nothing against people that do it. I just personally it's almost like a challenge really. I just do it just because I like seeing that sort of compound effect of like, how many subscribers am I going to get next month? If I up my videos, how many subscribers am I going to get? It's like when you the penny slot machines, that instant gratification you get when you put it down. I love looking at like new subscribers, looking at views, just seeing just a compound effect. I just love something that takes so long, so many years to build up into something that's actually worth it. That's why I do it, I think, because I just like, where's it going to be in 10 years, that channel? I don't know. Could be at 1 million, could be at 20,000. I literally don't know. One video could reach millions, you never know. So I just like the unknown of that, I think, and that's why I do it like only 20% of my time, 10% of my time now. But the rest is focused on the business. So yeah,
it makes sense.
Bit of a long-winded answer, but that's me.
No, it's cool. It sounds like it's more of a hobby, and you're not putting any pressure on it getting bigger. And that viewers are obviously getting a lot savvier, and they get a bit turned off by next Tom, Dick, and Harry selling a course.
Yeah.
And as you say, there is nothing wrong with it, but there's so many other ways you can provide value, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't have to be a course.
Exactly. Yeah. And if I'm making all my money from the course, then I'm obviously doing something wrong in Amazon anyway. Like, I make plenty of money on Amazon. I don't need to sell the courses. And I know that people are like, oh yeah, but you want multiple streams of income. Yeah, I could do, but that's just not in my long-term goals. As I said, nothing wrong with it. It's just not in my long-term goals. If someone wants to sell something that's a reasonable, fair price, and they're very credible and they're helping people, like I'm in an academy at the moment that I pay for. I paid a year's up front for that. I'm in someone else's academy that I paid for, and that's amazing. I love it, and it's really good. And I pay one-to-one coaching to my mentor. A fair chunk of money. So I don't think there's anything wrong with coaching and stuff like that if it's a fair price and if they're very credible and if it's right for you. I suppose what I have got an issue with, just to touch on this quickly, is them course sellers that have like £2,000 courses. They get you to run to the back of the room selling an opportunity that might not even be right for you. And I know it's not their job to tell who it's right for, but these vulnerable people that are just looking for any opportunity, I think you can get stung, because I've been stung with that before. So yeah.
Yeah, those can be very dangerous. I've been to one of those seminars, and I remember I did actually end up, it was a property seminar, and I ended up signing up to a 3-day £2,000 course or something. But luckily, COVID hit just after, and I was able to cancel just because on that.
Oh, nice.
Because they weren't able to run the course. So one good thing that came of the plague. Yeah. But either way, yeah. So I would like to touch on what's your advice for newbies trying to get into e-commerce? What would your top 1, 2, or 3 tips be? And we don't know whether they'll go into something similar to you, or they'll start with PL, or they'll go into online arbitrage or retail arbitrage. But just generally, what do you think that the skills required for making it in e-com are?
Oh, tricky question. I think it's important to test things to start with, without the expectation of making profit. Like, I remember Luke Dugan, obviously you know him, he's like 7-figure seller. Like, he does wholesale.
Mr. FBA UK, right?
Yeah. He coached me to start with, like one-to-one, so I paid for his coaching one-to-one to start with. This was years ago when I just started. Actually, I think it was only about a year and a half ago when I was trying to get a bit more serious. Anyway, I paid him for coaching, and I remember one thing that he said to me. He said, first year's for learning, second year's for earning. And that stuck with me, because it's not that you can't earn anything in your first year. Absolutely not, you can. But it's mainly just going to be a year of learning, no matter how much you disagree with that. And some people will start and they'll be like, oh, I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to earn loads this year. You probably won't, unless you're set up and you've already knowledgeable of the industry and you've got loads of investment. Even if I had 100 grand, even if you had 100 grand to chuck into e-commerce to start with, and if you've got no experience in it, then you're probably going to lose that or not make any money on it. I would not recommend spending the first year is literally, I just wouldn't expect to make much profit. Don't worry about not making much profit. Literally just learn, just take all the learnings in that you can, and then just understand it a lot more. Because even at the start of that end of that year, you're going to think that you're like an expert in the space. You'll think that you know loads about it, but you don't know anything compared to someone that's been in it for 3 or 4 years. And I found that really hard to understand, but that is true. Like, you know nothing. I remember after 3 months of being in OA, my coach was like, "Oh, do you need to do some more revision on the videos?" And I was like, "No." I was like, "I've done them all. I've sold products. I'm an expert." I just assumed that I knew everything I needed to know, and it was just really naive of me. So, yeah, that's the first thing I'll say. Just don't expect to earn anything, and just sort of be happy with that. Not be happy with it. Try and earn money. You know what I'm saying? But just don't worry if you're not. Just take that learning, and don't just give up when you don't earn something much for the first year. Just take it as a learning. And that would probably lead me on to say, like, think about your vision, as in like why you're starting in the first place. I didn't know that for like 2 years into my journey. It was probably only about 6 months ago that I figured out my actual one reason why I wanted to do this, and how it fitted in with my bigger goals, my bigger vision. So have a think about what your goals are and why you want to do it. They might change, but what is the reason why? Because otherwise, as they say, if a pilot's flying without a destination, obviously they're not going to go anywhere. They can't. You're just going to just fall down in midair. You've got to have that destination. Otherwise there's no point in going. So figure out the destination, figure out why you're doing what you're doing. That might change, but try and make some notes and figure out why you're doing it, so that drives you forwards. Other than that, patience is a really important thing. Like, patience is so important. Like, and I'm not saying patience as in like don't do much work and just div around. Like, work, like do what you've got to do. Don't burn yourself out, but do what you've got to do. Keep learning continuously, but don't just be patient that eventually, like, there's so many people that make e-commerce work. Like a year ago I probably would have thought about giving up. I was thinking about giving up e-commerce in general. Little did I know about all the experience I had that I could easily sort of convert into something that did work really well, and then the future's looking really bright now. But I almost gave up, and I think that was because I didn't have enough patience to just say, look, you've got this experience, just keep at it, just keep being patient, and keep trying to figure out what is right for you. Like, what route am I wrong? If it feels wrong, then change the course. Don't just keep doing something that doesn't work. Like, as that book you just said, the right time to quit. That doesn't mean you have to quit e-commerce. It means you have to quit the business model you're doing and pivot it, for example. Like, if it's feeling really wrong, don't just necessarily quit the whole industry and go back to your job or start another industry. I've made them mistakes in the past. If you think you can, then try and pivot the actual industry that you're in, pivot your experience and everything that's working for you into an area that is going to give you the most return on investment. Where the experience you've got at the moment, what could you put that into to give you the best return on investment right now? And that might mean that you thought you wanted to sell on Amazon, but you're going to start a prep center because that's the experience that you have. And that's what you love the most, and you're really good at logistics, and you're really good at relationships, and you've already got a team or something like that, and suddenly, you want to get into starting a prep center. So what I mean is, there's just so many opportunities that you don't have to leave an industry just because that specific thing isn't working for you. Look at ways you can leverage that experience. That's what I'd say.
I think that's really fantastic advice. Thank you for being so generous with that. I would like to just ask you one more question, because we've been going for over an hour, and I want to be respectful of your time. But so I just wanted to know, like, what do you think caused you to not give up when you said you thought you might give up? What led you through that pain?
Oh, it's a really good one. I honestly think, being completely honest, I was holding on to the thread of hope that I had because I trusted my coach so much. Like, honestly, I would say I was so close to giving up. I trusted what she said. I genuinely believed in her. And I said, look, she makes this work. This is my last chance of making this work. Otherwise, I'm going to have to start a different company. Like, literally, and I just believed in her. And I went after it. I just believe, you've got to believe in something, haven't you? You've got to believe in something. So I believed that it worked and went all in without holding back, without any sort of doubt that it wasn't going to work. I actually just took the barriers down and just said, right, let's fully trust her, let's fully believe in her, and let's just go all in. But I did go all in. Like, and I say this as if like, 7 months and we've got good results and we're projecting the numbers that we did. I was probably working like, I'm not saying you have to do this, but I accelerated the growth of the business by working stupid hours, by working really, really hard, and by leveraging all the experience I've got. You know what I mean? Like, and investing loads into coaches and stuff like that. Not all of this is necessary, but if you want it really, really fast, like I did, then it probably was a bit more necessary. So that's what I did. Yeah, just I suppose, yeah, I just fully trusted in her that it was going to work, and it did.
I think that's an amazing answer, because that seems to be a thread running through this whole chat, is that through each step of the way, you've either had friends or mentors, or you've paid for courses to help you along the way. And even though you've said you don't need these things, you have needed them to get to where you are. So it's really cool that to get over that last hurdle where you thought you might quit, it was you trusting in someone who's doing better than you. And I think that's really cool. But I think that's a great way to end this conversation. It's been awesome to chat. Like, thank you very much for being so generous with your time. Would you, where can people find you on the internet if they want to find you?
Yeah, I'm on the internet. I am. I'm just Hayden Davidson, Hayden, Hayden Davidson on YouTube, and that's the only place that I do Amazon content and stuff like that. So like I've just switched it up. So like business stuff, like travel vlogs, which I'll be going on soon. Probably not as much as you, but travel vlogs and stuff. I'm going to where am I going to? The White Label Expo event. I'm going on Wednesday and Thursday in London. I'm going to vlog the whole thing there. There's loads of Amazon sellers going. I'm going to be vlogging that and speaking to them. So yeah, Hayden Davidson on YouTube. Do loads of Amazon content on there. So check it out on there.
Sounds really good. I will have to be checking in on some of that content, and any of the listeners and watchers who have enjoyed this conversation, I recommend you do the same. So yeah, thank you again for taking the time, and hopefully we'll do a round two at some point and we'll be able to chat about your £1 million year. But yeah, thanks again, and I'll speak to you soon, Hayden.
Cheers, mate. Thanks.
Thank you so much for tuning into the show. If you've made it this far, you may as well leave this video a like if you've been watching on YouTube. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for future episode updates. Or if you've been listening on Apple Podcasts, it would be absolutely amazing if you could leave us a review, as that makes a world of difference. Thank you again, and I'll catch you in the next one. Ciao for now.